And my dear ones, just a word of introduction. Remember, patience and considering what no one else is taking into account. Look at the comments that are under my videos. Look at how they define the sentiment. How people laughed that you are already bullshitting Stasiak. We'll never go below 100,000 and so on and so forth. You predict this bear market. You predict these corrections. And I, my dear ones, just made sure even more that we are getting closer. Getting closer to that sign of weakness, getting closer to this local correction and the removal of liquidity, where unfortunately a larger part of the street will be kicked out of this market. What can we see from people's comments? Who are starting to feel regret, simply because they bought senselessly at the peak and didn't wait for the moments of correction, which was talked about many weeks ago actually, practically, in every one of my analysis videos. So don't be influenced by anyone else. Even my videos or anyone else's when you watch, take them as just additional confluence and make your own decisions. Wise, not buying primarily at the peaks, and above all, smart DCA. And trolls, greetings to you, and think about it. Are you sure this market is for you, and does it make sense to lose so much money and hate on people who have been in this market for many years and are patiently waiting for the normal building of market structures, which are wave structures? If there's an impulse, then a correction follows. Let's start then with the most important on-chains. Long-term hodler net position change. And my dear ones, long-term. Hodlers are slowly approaching the 0 point when it comes to selling. Bitcoin below $100,000 might not be such an attractive place for further distribution. So here we have long-term. Hodlers are slowly just stopping selling because the price is no longer that attractive to them. When it comes to profits, and at this moment, they probably will have already just sold their Bitcoin. They wanted to hodl. It's not yet the time to buy. In my opinion, you could have already been doing DCA. Besides, if someone is watching, as I mentioned in my earlier episodes, they knew that for many weeks I was talking about a dump in cryptocurrencies, so I'm not surprised. Purchases have been made, so here it's really a matter of patience. My dear ones, corrections were to be expected after such impulsive rises and after such a strong sign of weakness that we left above. ATH. Bitcoin futures open interest versus price. Change. We're slowly entering. My dear ones, we're in the leverage sell-off zone, which means that currently the price is mainly being pushed by perpetually and not a sell-off on the spot, which means that at this moment there are simply more short sellers than those who are actually selling their cryptocurrencies on the spot. This could also be caused by the situation in America regarding the new tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. So here indeed people who were strictly leveraging and playing the market, that's all. In the futures market, they caused such large drops in the cryptocurrency market, not just for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin didn't drop that much. In fact, it's the altcoins that really got hit the hardest here. Besides, at this moment, my dear ones, you can also see the exact percentage of my portfolio when it comes strictly to altcoins. So really, if someone was actually paying attention to the videos, paying attention to what's happening in the market and being smart, he was managing his purchases somewhere. So at this moment, he really shouldn't be too scared. Besides, this is what I've already said in many previous videos, so that they were aware that we could still experience a strong drop, a strong crash, a strong flash crash, you could say, even in the market. At this moment, this is not a flash crash. In my opinion, it's just a regular correction. And to be prepared for that, for which I was mocked in the comments, so I greet all those moon boys from the comments, who said that Bitcoin would never drop below 100,000. And my dear ones, the word never simply doesn't exist in crypto. My dear ones, sell-side risk, ratio. We're slowly approaching the zone. Support. When it comes to the possibility of further distribution after breaking through, listen. The blue line, any potential drops should be slowed down. So you can see that we actually still have a bit of room here. I think that even this purple line could be respected here, so don't catch falling knives. The market is still very strong, of course. It dropped yesterday and last night. Of course, you can try to catch some DCA somewhere because I personally had limits set at irrational levels of cryptocurrencies, which I shared with you on Discord, which I mentioned in many of my analyses in the videos. So if someone is watching closely, they can find exactly those altcoins we talked about. And those altcoins, it was actually through me last night, or rather through the exchange at the limit, that they were purchased. Of course, with the DCA method, never go all in. So my friends, I think we should wait a bit longer before making any decisions, that we can actually start bouncing back. And the market will be going up. We can actually see some buyback happening on the charts right now. By the way, we'll move on to those charts shortly and take a look at everything that's going on, as well as my plan and we'll see where we still have some room. And exactly yesterday, my friends, during the live stream that you could watch in the evening, I mentioned that Bitcoin will probably stop in the zone that I was talking about. Today, we will be talking about the charts, and from there, we will get an attempt at a buyback. The zones that should interest you, that's $94,000 and $91.92, so anyone who watched closely yesterday should be satisfied. And here, my friends, net realized profit and loss. We still have quite a large realization of profits. However, we are slowly starting to approach the 0 point where people will be realizing losses instead of profits. For now, we are still here. Too high, which means there are still quite a few people here who are in profit. They are gently taking some of those profits, but there could definitely be a situation where that crowd, which was buying at the peaks, you can also see it in the comments, when that crowd becomes active indeed, and when they were simply liquidated. So here we still have some room for those who bought to switch from long-term holders to short-term holders, who are probably already at quite a significant loss right now. And here, my friends, stablecoin net position change. We got a sudden influx of stablecoins into the market, which we can see here on the chart. It's true that it's very small compared to what it was a few weeks ago, but finally, someone got interested in the market and just put some money into it. Moreover, as we will also see on the charts, Tether's dominance has started to rise quite significantly compared to the perfectly working correlation. Bitcoin, which at the same time started to drop. And here, my friends, of course, ETFs have been quite lackluster on Bitcoin this week without any major satisfying impacts. ETH is once again bouncing back and starting to lose value again. By the way, let's go to the chart and take a look at the zones that were the most ridiculed of all when it comes to my analyses. Well, my friends, we've reached the zones and I made some purchases. So, well, just enjoy. And here, my friends, there's not much interesting for us this week. More for traditional markets, data that could cause something. The traditional market right now will be waiting for further moves from Trump. How and in what way will the new tariffs affect the valuation of traditional markets? So, we'll see what happens. The dollar is up. I'm curious myself about how this market will behave. It's just going to behave based on these events from Forex Factory this week. And now, my friends, we move on to the most important part of this episode, which is the charts. What do I see on them? And how I will be acting now? Well, my friends, let's start with a beautiful Bitcoin chart. For some, it might be annoying that I'm happy. For others, probably not, because they are just as satisfied as I am. Because we've been talking about these levels for many, many weeks. Even yesterday, I showed this chart exactly during the live session and mentioned the zones where Bitcoin might get a buyback, as well as the zones where it's worth positioning yourself. Well, my friends, the first zone that my alert went off and it took my position, we're around $91,500, which I'm very happy about, because at this moment it's almost $4,000. In art, a profit has appeared. A beautiful, instant buyback, just like we entered this zone every time. Right here exactly at the point of control, which is the most important place, SO. At this moment, my friends, we can only analyze what has been done and how my positions will be held going forward, because at this moment I'm also buying back on the spot. These are, my friends, not long-term purchases. These are swings, short-term ones, that I will simply be closing at specific zones, that we will talk about shortly. Why short-term swings? Because, my dears, the market is so volatile that at the moment entering or catching limits on the futures market, i.e. on the leveraged market, on the market with leverage, it's quite risky. If someone has a larger capital, then sometimes it's actually worth trading on the spot, just like I'm doing right now on the chart. Because even if we went lower here, it wouldn't liquidate any of my positions. And I even bought more in the second zone, and I would be calm about not having any liquidation. So at this moment, of course, on low time frames, you can try to catch those futures markets, and I'm still doing that. However, when it comes to long swings, I will be working quite heavily on the spot. Now, just like I did back in January, I also showed the results. And this month, I think we started off very well. Because on the spot, those trades were actually caught last night. Very good. So my friends, when it comes to the plan for Bitcoin, as I said, I'll show you the buying zones. I won't say, because they were filled last night. At this moment, I will be taking my first take profits around $98, $99,500 with leaving a possible 50% if we actually wanted to build from here again and attempt to break out a new all-time high. However, at this point, we have quite a large imbalance, which means there's a buy-side inefficiency or a small number of buyers, so the imbalance that has formed in the market needs to be balanced out. It needs to be balanced, so I think around $99.5 thousand. So here, in this unshared BWAP and our support to resistance zone, Flippa can be respected. That's where I'll be taking my first profits, and you should really pay attention to that area. My dear friends, Bitcoin's dominance has skyrocketed. It's beautiful that we had such a huge dominance and such huge drops. What can be compared to Tether's dominance, which you can see that how incredibly it skyrocketed and how empty it left the knot right away. It's quite an interesting situation. Even the total 3 has dropped below $800 billion. What is a place that is quite dangerous when it comes to total 3 and altcoins? Fortunately, an immediate buyback occurred. So here are the altcoins, and we'll get to them shortly. I will also show which ones were bought and what exactly my plan is for them. Altcoins. Some altcoins, actually even for the long term, have been purchased. My dear friends, my beloved Ethereum, which I don't really like, but why shouldn't I trade it? Well, if it's making money, of course, we'll be trading it. Personally, on Ethereum, we dropped down to the area I mentioned. We even went much lower. My buy orders in the futures market were supposed to be around $2,700. However, they weren't set up yesterday because of some fear of mine that we might actually drop get. This strong drop has been hanging in the air for a long time. Even if we look at Bitcoin and go down to lower time frames, we could see an incredibly strong sign of weakness. Every breakout of this liquidity zone, this golden pocket was immediately sold off. Even the last candle left an empty knot, and that was already a sign that the drops would actually occur. By the way, I also talked about shorts in those zones when we were in them. If someone is listening carefully and following along, they remember, they know. Besides, a lot of people on Discord also jumped into those shorts. Personally, I had buy orders for Ethereum on the spot at exactly around $2,300, which were also purchased. I'm speaking with a lot of enthusiasm because I'm really happy about these purchases. In my opinion, you should always set irrational prices on the spot, because that's how you get those local flash crashes. In the crypto market, these events happen, and they really allow you to make the most profit. At this moment, when it comes to my Ethereum, which is of course short-term, because I don't believe in Ethereum, in the long term, it will be sold around $3,000 and $3,500. If we get there, my dear ones, also a very important piece of information, all the purchases I make on the spot, when it comes to short-term, meaning these swings strictly on the spot, of course, have stop losses. In the long term, it's known that I don't set stop losses because that's a different story. It's a different game, a different play. However, in the short term, I do set those stop losses as well because I want to protect my capital. For me, what's more important than making money is not losing money. I actually waited a very long time for these positions. However, that's exactly what it's about in financial markets, not just in crypto, but also if you're investing or trading in traditional markets, patience will be one of the main factors in waiting for the right opportunity. The right price for not entering because I haven't entered in a while, just waiting for the main liquidity zones. So, my clear, simple methodology. I find the main liquidity zones whether we drop to them through a flash crash or just a regular slow descent. A slow correction. These are the zones from which we need to get a reaction due to the huge liquidity. Unfortunately, many people don't understand this, which is also visible in the comments, and it just loads up on the peaks. They don't understand this market. They don't protect themselves, and unfortunately, this market is not made for such people. Quanta, my dear ones, which we've talked about many times, has beautifully dropped down to the 12-hour fair value gap. I didn't buy it that well here. I bought Quanta around $90. At this moment, I will be holding it. This is strictly a swing, at least up to $150. Chainlink, my dear ones, purchases on the spot were made in the red zone. You could see in my previous videos that I had strictly set limits here. Right around $16.50, that's an amazing zone for buying. I'm telling you right now, it's too late. You should have set your limits instead of jumping in now. As soon as the price started to bounce, and I didn't buy Vaxa, but Ondo was strictly purchased by me. I mentioned in my last videos, and this is not fiction, just go to my videos, just check out my live streams, listen closely and see the places where I said it's worth buying a particular coin, that it's a main liquidity zone. Here around 90 cents, Ondo was also purchased by me as the main liquidity zone on the chart. The dollar, is bouncing beautifully. I'm happy about that because I'm also holding a lot of dollars. I'm quite active with it. When it comes to the market, let's say the spot market, all the purchases I've made were below 393, so here below this blue zone. So the dollar is also up, of course, being bought on the spot and for the long term. I'm a supporter, rather holding currency, holding your savings, let's say in dollars, not in zlotys. So, my dear, when it comes to plans, as you can see, purchases have been made and swings have been executed. Short term, those were already zones that were worth taking. We don't know what will happen now. In my opinion, we could actually try to make an attack on a new all-time high again. And that's also always part of my plan. We'll see, because if we don't break out the new ATH now, after taking away liquidity from this lower part of the consolidation, then we can actually start a decline even to those 73,000. And soon everyone will be laughing at those zones again, and later I'll be laughing because I bought in, while others, unfortunately, forgot that such a situation could happen. So, my dear, let's now move on to the most important market news. So, my dear, let's start with DeepSeek. Last week, there was a lot of buzz about a tool that made the financial markets freeze for a moment. Specifically, DeepSeek. This model is nothing other than an innovation created by the Chinese that proved to the giants of Wall Street and the big brains from Silicon Valley that AI can be done better and, above all, cheaper. OpenAI itself spends over $100 million on training and maintaining its project. But that's just one company. There are many more like them. Finally, America itself announced that it will spend over $500 billion to develop this sector. Meanwhile, the developers of DeepSeek, not only did they make it cheaper, because according to what they claim, they spent $5 million on it. That's still something. According to some tests, they made it better than their competition from America. What's even stronger? The fact is that the entire source code of this tool is open source, meaning it's publicly available. So all those senators from the USA no longer have to worry about whether the Chinese are spying on them, just like it was with TikTok. And to add fuel to the fire, this AI, it wasn't built on NVIDIA's super processors, but on commercial graphics cards that are used for gaming. What does that mean? NVIDIA and its super expensive processors are in trouble. And along with NVIDIA in trouble is all of Wall Street, which is packed with NVIDIA from the ground up. There are people who have said it multiple times, that AI is a bubble. What was it about those Dogecoins? They could have, right? My dear, let's move on to Trump. At the end of last week, Bitcoin fell below $100,000, after Donald Trump followed through on his threat to impose high tariffs on major trading partners. Trump referred to the influx of illegal opioids and other drugs in his executive order, calling for the imposition of these tariffs. The newly introduced tariffs are as follows: 25% tariffs on almost all imports from Mexico and Canada, and 10% tariffs on goods from China. Of course, this will affect us, the citizens, which means things will get more expensive. Since traditional markets were closed over the weekend, cryptocurrencies bore the brunt of the reaction, risking just above fame. The coming days will also show us how the market will price Trump's fulfilled promises. And there will be no exemptions from the CU, he said. WSJ, a high-ranking official from the White House. And they will remain in place until the president is convinced that the mentioned countries, they stopped the influx of illegal substances into the USA. So Trump is really going for it. Dogecoin, listen. Grayscale has launched a new closed trust fund, offering exposure to Dogecoin. According to the managers of this fund, Doge has become more than just a meme coin and will prove to be a tool for global financial integration. Because of its low fees and transaction speed, as if they didn't know about the existence of other cryptocurrencies. It's hard not to agree. Looking at it from the other side, Trump, after all, he created a new office called Doge, somewhat encouraged by Elon Musk. Now launched, listen, Trump is charging investors a 2.5% management fee for Dogecoin. In the meantime, my dear, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed watching the episode. Of course, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episodes. And let me know in the comments what purchases you've been making during the correction and what you think about the further parts of the market. And to all the haters, thank you very much for the comments and for helping to gauge the market sentiment. Take care for now. See you later.